Hello and welcome to the first game of the NPL Tryout Tournament. My opponent today is Ace of Base and the Anaheim Altarias. This is our first match in the pool play round. We need to do well enough to get into the knockout rounds and go from there. As you can see, his team is Mega Venusaur, Tapu Koko, Celesteela, Slowbro, Hydreigon, Gliscor, and the two he didn't bring were Lycanroc, Midday Form, and Florges. I felt like I prepped decently well for his team. Wasn't too scared of most things on the team. My team is a Cut Stop Berry, Spikes, Stealth Rock, Taunt, Roost, I think, Skarmory. I planned 100% on leading Skarmory from the beginning. I have a Choice Scarf Darmanitan, I have a Life Orb Tapu Lele, I have Mega Manectric, of course, a Z-move with the Fire Fang Z-move, Garchomp with Swords Dance, and I have a mixed defensive Porygon 2. Porygon 2 was really my only defensive mon. I could rely on taking hits from the Tapu Koko / the Hydreigon, the only two things I was really afraid of. So, like I said, I had planned 100% on leading my Skarmory, but for some reason, right before the game started, to lead with my Manectric as he leads with his Hydreigon. And I'm afraid that this thing could be Scarfed because a Scarf Draco could knock me out. So I pull the switch out into my Porygon 2 because, like I said, it's my only defensive mon I brought. I have download, and I can see that he has higher special defense, so he goes for the taunts, but I just want damage on this thing because I thought this would be Scarfed. I thought this would want to outspeed my Darmanitan if that was Scarfed, or my Tapu Lele if that was Scarfed. But he reveals the taunt and the Roost here, and I'm just going for the Ice Beams to do damage. No, this is a losing battle for him. I'm not making any predictions, like I said. And he pulls the switch out into his Slowbro. And I'm not too nervous of this thing. I get the freeze, but he probably has Scald, so no harm, no foul there. Now, I wish I had the special attack raise instead of the physically attack raise. So I go for the Thunderbolt, and I don't do too much damage, which shows he has some investment. Scald thaws the freeze and does minimum chip damage on me. I recover because I need my Porygon 2 healthy to take on the rest of his team as he decides to start Calm Minding. This is scary because I have the majority of my team are special attackers in Darmanitan and Garchomp, but Garchomp doesn't want to take any hits from the +2 Slowbro. So I go into my Manectric and I decide to Volt Switch out, hoping that I can at least do some damage. I gauged the damage before, and it only does 34%. So I need to go out into my Skarmory, my most expendable member of the team. Unfortunately, it does not have Whirlwind, but he slacks off back to full, and all I can do here is taunt, so he doesn't continue to set up. But he sees the Whirlwind coming and goes for the Scald, takes me down, and lost cause here. I'm just throwing up my Stealth Rocks as he takes out my Skarmory. So, unfortunately, I only get my Stealth Rocks up instead of at least another layer of Spikes or something. And I am on the ropes here. I'm going into my Manectric. I'm just going to go for Thunderbolt. I need damage on this thing. I need to weaken this thing, because I don't really have anything that can take it out. He goes for the Psychic. Does not take me out. The taunt ends, so here he can slack off, but I'm just going for the Thunderbolt. I get the Para, which is huge, as he does slack off, and I am just going to continue Thunderbolting, hoping for a crit or something, because this was something I didn't really expect him to bring. But as you can see, it's just a huge threat to my team. I didn't bring Toxapex to get Toxic or T-Spikes up. So here, right now, all I can really do is just focus on what's in front of me. And I go into my Darmanitan. I go for the U-turn, and that does a good amount of damage, but does not take him out. So he can recover here as I go into my P2. Luckily, he gets fully paralyzed, and a Thunderbolt will be able to knock him out from this range. He decides to save his Slowbro and switch out into his Venusaur. Now, Venusaur, I'm not too scared of because I do have the Tapu Lele. I get a para on this thing too, so that's cool. And I just wanted to gauge like what kind of bulk this had on it, and I go for the Psyshock. And I see that Tapu Lele will have no problem taking that out. He goes for a Toxic on my P2, not too worried about that. And here I'm expecting him to Synthesis, so I make the switch out into my Tapu Lele, as he does go for the Synthesis. Now here, he has a Dark Side. He's probably expecting a Choice Scarf Tapu Lele. So I pull the switch out into my Darmanitan as he goes out into his Celesteela. Celesteela wasn't a huge threat to me, as I said before. Flare Blitz easily knocks us out. So I just go straight for the Flare Blitz. I get a crit, not the biggest deal because 2 Flare Blitzes would have taken that out. If not 1, I didn't calc it. But here, he goes out into his Gliscor, and this thing was tricky because I didn't know what it really wanted to do to me. So I go out into my P2 because Ice Beam will take this thing out. I see here that he goes for Earthquake. I didn't calc the damage on that, just because it did so little that I expected this to be a defensive Gliscor. I would just go for the Ice Beam here, not really worried about what's going on. And I do a decent amount of damage to the Celesteela. And here I'm expecting a Leech Seed or a Protect to get the health back. And I go out into my Darmanitan again. Now here he doubles out and makes the switch into his Hydreigon. And from this range, not worried about it, a U-turn will be able to knock this thing out as he stays in, which is fantastic because now I can freely spam Psychic and things will be that much easier. So I go out into my Tapu Lele because nothing really wants to take this thing on. He goes out into his Celesteela, and from the range it's at, even if it's max HP, max Spadef, a Thunderbolt will take it out. I knew it was leftovers and not a Wakanberry, so I had no worries about taking it out. Here he goes out into his Tapu Koko, and a Life Orb Wild Charge will take me out. So I decide to switch out into my P2 because it's really useless at this point. All I need is a little bit of damage on the Gliscor, and I should be fine for a Darmanitan to really take over and end the game. So he goes for the Wild Charge like I expected, but he goes for the Volt Switch, showing he's not choiced in any way. And because he's not Life Orb, the only way he can kill my Tapu Lele is if he's max attack, and if he's max attack, a Dazzling Gleam does not take out my Garchomp. So here, he goes out into his Gliscor, and I go into my Tapu Lele. I expected this thing to be, like I said, slow and bulky, but he goes for the Earthquake, gets a crit, and shows he's speedy and offensive. But a Hidden Power Ice takes him out. It would have taken him out from full if he was max either way. But what that means is Tapu Lele only has 1 hit left. And here, I'm not sure what I was planning on doing. I knew Tapu Lele was valuable because of the Venusaur, so I'll go into my Garchomp, which is less valuable, as he goes for a Volt Switch. And the way I brought it in might have bluffed a Scarf because he switches out right into his Venusaur. I knew I could take at least 1 Dazzling Gleam if he wasn't Life Orb, and I just go straight for the Earthquake. And here I Swords Dance up because, like I said, Garchomp is no longer valuable because Darmanitan can take out the Tapu Koko. Swords Dance up just to get damage on the Venusaur, and here I'm going for Earthquake so the Tapu Koko can't switch in as he goes for the Sludge Bomb. And unfortunately, because of the poison, based on his investment I could have lived a Dazzling Gleam at the range I was at before the poison damage here. The 2 turns of poison damage. So this could have been a 3-0, but, you know, I'm not going to complain because the Tapu Koko comes in, it's going to kill my Garchomp, and the Darmanitan will be able to take out the Tapu Koko, and we will win our first game with a 2-0 against Ace of Base and the Anaheim Altarias. He goes for Quick Attack there, and for a moment my heart kind of stopped because I'm like, wait, why did he outspeed me? But no big deal. And like I said, we win 2-0, and that was a fun game. Hacks really went in my favor there. He got the crit on Tapu Lele, which wasn't a big deal, but the para on the Slowbro was. So if I didn't get that para, I don't know how I would have won, but in the end, it doesn't matter because we did win. So we are 1-0 in pool play, and we just need to win and win and win, and we will be in the knockout round. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for Game 2 of the NPL Minors Tryout Tournament.